Yo, before we get knee deep into episode 17 of White Heat, just want to remind you about our friends over at Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Bridge Road, up in the Scotia Glenville area of upstate New York. Well, they always go out of their way to please you. We just got through Labor Day weekend. School started, which means the kids are out of your hair, and now you can really sit down and have some adult conversations, laser focusing on what needs to get done, including figuring out vehicles for the coming months as we approach winter, You're going to be wondering if your vehicle is going to be able to handle another winter of snow and ice and just disgusting weather. So now, if you feel like you need to trade in your vehicle, you got to figure out, all right, where do I go? Nah, it ain't got to be one of those, mom and pop dealerships that is going to willingly pay for your vehicle, but got nothing to back it up to give you something to drive off the lot with. You gotta go to the place that has the best inventory and the biggest inventory of certified pre-owned used vehicles. That would be Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia. They're gonna make sure they get to the bottom of what you want and what kind of vehicle you need. They're gonna make sure that they go with your values, not their values. They value your service, they value your needs, and they value what you are going to walk out with, and that is a smile every time you get away from Mohawk Honda's lot. So make sure you visit them, whether you're up in Lake George, Saratoga, whether you're out near Syracuse, down near Kingston, out in Western Mass or Southern Vermont. Make sure you visit our friends at Mohawk Honda in Scotia Glenville, where they always go out of their way to please you. Also, a quick reminder that, hey, Johnstone Supply in Troy, it is getting to that time of year where, hey, you may not think so much about your AC units anymore, but you need to start thinking about putting yourself into good hands for the winter, because, hey, you need to think about your furnace. Does it need to be replaced? Does it need to be serviced? You need to take a look at your heating system in general, whether your thermostats are working properly, whether you need to change the filters in your heating system. Well, Johnstone Supply in Troy, they can make sure that your home is heated properly for this colder weather coming in the near future. Family-owned and operated business that's been around for decades, serving upstate New York residents. You can visit their store at 6th Avenue in Troy for more information on how they can help you this fall. Talk to Tom, talk to George, anybody in the staff. They'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions you might have. So go check them out. You can give them a call, 518-272-5922. You can also check them out on Facebook, Johnstone Supply in Troy. And again, they're on 6th Avenue in Troy. So make sure you go and see our friends over there, and they will take care of you no matter what your needs regarding your heating system coming up in the fall and eventually into the winter months. What's up? Episode 17 of White Heat, presented by Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda and Johnstone Supply. I'm Brian Cady. My co-host JJ Alexander, who is going to be sounding a little more sexy because he has a new microphone. Just a little bit more sexy, especially when I unmute his microphone.
Yeah, no shit.
Sorry. Yeah, JJ, how was your Labor Day weekend? Everything cool with you?
Kind of was what it was. Kind of just been run down the past couple of days, so just resting.
All right. Hey, rest is not a bad thing at all. I'm cool with resting. Resting is cool by me. So let's start with. Let's start with. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my banner. I'm messing with my email and I'm trying to handle banners at the same time. It's a goddamn mess. Let's start the show we've been starting at the last few weeks. Episode 4 of the TV show Heels. You're not a fan. We've established that point. Has anything been done yet to start swaying you in the direction of not hating it so much, or are you still in the pretty much all hate category?
So they did something this week that I kind of liked, but I don't know. It was weird. It was like, because you remember I talked about the last episode how the Michael Hayes looking character like got nailed for like doing some fucked up TikTok or whatever.
Right. Yep.
So this episode opened with what actually happened. So they show this corporate boardroom in New York, actual New York, not Stamford, New York, where the marketing team is going over ways to improve the product, and they display the new title belt for the big company up north. and it has LED lights in it. And they're like, because our fans in the upper tiers can't really see the belt that well, but this way we get 100% viewership and blah, 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 blah. And Michael Hayes, knockoff dude, is standing there, and he goes like, it looks like a fucking toy. And I'm like, that's Michael Hayes. Like, he's got that character down. Without ever meeting the man, he has that character down. And so then, like, they're like, oh, well, blah blah blah. Well, you know, this is so we get premium toy shelf space, and you know, all in Walmart and everything. And he's like, yeah, because that's all. This is a fucking toy. It's not the thing I broke my skull for. It's not the thing I had a neck fusion surgery for. And like, he started going way overboard into how much the belt means to me. Shit. And I'm like, yes, I get it that you don't want the title belt to look like a toy. We all kind of feel that way. But to go to the extent that they did, not so much. And then it follows up by shows him on an airplane where he fucking raids the drink cart and keeps getting drunk and popping oxys. And then he goes into the men's room, and they're like, you know, they knock on his door, and he comes busting out wearing nothing except his entrance robe, which he's like not an active person on the roster, and the fucking toy title belt with his dick hanging out. And he's like, I'm Wild Bill. You can tell everybody I said so. And that's, everyone took that and that went viral. So that's what everyone saw on their phones. And so then he basically has to lay low in the little podunk town in Georgia, and he ends up getting future endeavored. They purposely go out of their way to make it so like they have it so that the CEO of the company up north is a middle-aged black woman, so that way nobody can make the comparison to Vince McMahon. And they didn't even use they fired him over the phone, but they didn't even use the future endeavors line, which, like, if you're going to go balls out, go balls out. Like, everybody knows that. Like, you could be the people that are like, he said the line, whatever. Meanwhile, like, back in the town, fucking Stephen Amell is basically trying to get sponsorship money for the company. He's basically trying to start his own streaming service for this one little indie. And like, he's going to like this used car dealership of this guy who also owns like a pawn shop franchise who sponsors their stuff. Like, he has a banner up in their arena and shit. And he's like, we got all the past stuff and blah, blah, blah. We got all the Wild Bill promos and show. And he's just like, and like, I was like, no indie wants their own streaming service. Like, you want to be part of something, like be part of IWTV or be part of Fight TV. Sure. You don't try to host your own fucking streaming service and try to say that you've got like this content that like you're a Southern indie. And then what's really bad is the supposed guy who knows nothing about wrestling, the guy they're trying to get the money from, makes more fucking sense than him. And he's like, I don't mind sponsoring this, but blah, blah, blah. He's like, but, you know, it's like my pawn shop business, I don't mind advertising there because it's, you know, people with lost hopes and dreams, and that's the kind of people you attract. He's like, my car dealership's family, and you're not a family-oriented product. And he goes, plus, like, just everything about you seems small. He's like, the name of your company is Duffy Wrestling League. Nobody outside of this town knows what this fucking town is. And he has a valid fucking point. Like, you have an indie that's named after the town you're in, and you don't travel. So why the fuck would anybody on a national scale want to invest in a streaming service for that? You know, you want to invest in a company that has a name that sounds like it can be crossover, not Duffy Wrestling League. Anyways, and then the other part of the episode that was just like, they decide like, so he's sitting there wallowing in his self-pity, watching old videotapes and in the basement, and the brother comes down and so the two brothers kind of reconcile, and the brother's like, you need to do this, and he's just like, oh really? And he hands him the fucking notepad. He's like, you book it. He's like, really? Oh, get ready to be amazed. And so they go to shoot a fucking promo, And because like all the old promos they're watching is like a guy standing in the ring and he talks, and then like a guy will come in and like Pearl Harbor or something. And he's like, nobody does this shit anymore. I'm like, kinda. I'm like, there's a good point there. And then it shows they basically shoot this like POV video like in high def because they use someone's iPhone at the local convenience store where the younger brother who's the heel now decides to attack the younger guy that he like took out in the previous week. And like at first it was okay because it was just like, all right, like, you know, he blindsides him in the convenience store and like smashes his head against the wall and like throws him into like a rack of chips and like, you know, like puts his head under the Slurpee thing and like does it, and then like kicks him to the outside. And that probably in and itself, that little like 25 seconds would have been fine. But no, we have to go overboard. So we literally have the fight keep going in the parking lot. Well, in the canopy where the gas tanks are, and then have the valet try to run him over in an ATV out of nowhere, and then they fight over into the back of a pickup truck, which then goes through the car wash there, and then they come out on the other side, and they're all like, and like they're still fighting, and then another pickup truck rolls out, and out comes Stephen Amell and two of the guys from the fucking thing, and he's like, hey, anybody wants to fight in this town, you do it in my ring. He's like, and whoever wins gets a shot at this, and lifts up his shirt, and he's wearing the fucking title belt in public. I'm like, this is some backyarder bullshit. Like, I don't get it. It's not that hard. They're taking everything and making it so much harder than it is. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't fucking get it.
So basically, every time they take a step forward, they're taking 3 steps back.
3 steps back. Yep. I was like, hey, maybe they're right. Maybe around episode 4 it does start getting better. And what the fuck? Yeah.
Oh. That's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. By the way, you mentioned the streaming. The only thing I could think of, because I know one company around here used to do it, Dynasty, and then I know Chaotic Wrestling does it as well. They won't stream live, but once they edit the footage from shows, then they'll air them on Twitch.
Yeah,
just as like random specials. Like I know Chaotic, they do it regularly. I think it's like Thursday nights or Tuesday nights or something.
Yeah. And Chaotic is a company that has a back catalog that can pull off something like that.
Correct.
But yeah, Twitch, IWTV, Fight TV, those things, yeah, that's fine. But hosting your own, no, that doesn't happen.
Correct.
I mean, look at how badly TNA's doing. Impact. Like Impact tries to push their fucking streaming service, yet you can watch old Impact and TNA on Pluto for free 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't. Impact. How should I put this? Impact kind of seems like the orphan child of everything right now.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean like it seems like they have a product. No matter what you may think of it, it's still a product. No matter how shitty the product may be, it's still something. Yeah. They are like, how should I put this? They're like all right, I'll use your phrase. They're a great value brand of professional wrestling.
Yes.
But they can't find and legitimize a long-term space for their specialty events anymore.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Like I guess Fight TV counts for them.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing I could think of. And even then, they're still kind of like jerking themselves into a corner because they also try to use Twitch and because they have their weekly TV show, then they have the events they put on Fight TV, and then they decide to do their like secondary specialty shows on Twitch. And it's like, you have to actually try to keep track of which is on Twitch and which is on Fight.
Yep.
Which is the last thing you want, is to potentially confuse your fan base or your customers.
Well, that was why you should just pay for Impact Plus so you can see it on there.
Right. No. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. They're fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So, where should we go next? All right. I wanted to get into something that I'm sure you have an opinion on. And I don't think I have a banner for it, but I'll create one on the fly. So give me 2 seconds. Hang on. Because all I gotta do is edit one banner real quick here. All right, here we go. There it is.
Well, yeah.
So this doesn't even have to do with the number one, because I'm past the point of giving a shit about it anymore.
Trust me, we're on the same page.
So, if any of you who are wrestling fans are like me, growing up as a kid, like when like the CVS's and the Rite Aids and the Walgreens still carried a plethora of wrestling magazines, you know, obviously WWE magazine was something I gravitated towards, but I also gravitated towards Pro Wrestling Illustrated because that was like the one. I think The Wrestler was still around back then, but PWI was like the publication.
Yeah.
That I preferred personally.
Yeah.
That brought together all the different companies you may not get regular coverage of in your area that you could read up on. Right. And that's kind of how you would also learn about like these different higher end indie companies and the talents they had that might be on the horizon, making it national and all that stuff. So like PWI was a magazine I craved for back in the day growing up. Yeah. Then as I got older and became, let's just say, more intelligent and an adult, you learn of stories about how much of a crock of shit the PWI 500 is every year.
Yep.
Now, if you don't know, I'm sorry, we're going to break your little heart right now. The PWI 500 is essentially, how should I put this?
It's a fucking work.
Yeah, essentially. It's faker than the stuff that non-wrestling fans call fake. That's how I should put it. Like, non-wrestling fans are like, oh, your sport is fake. The PWI 500 is more fake than what they call fake. All right? Essentially, now, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I just know rumor and conjecture, or as someone we would know as rumor and innuendo. I'll say what I think I know, and then JJ, I see your hand, so I'll get to you. Is that it's number one, at least a portion of it is voting based. I'm going to assume it's also jerked off by the writers of the magazines and writers in the business. And then also, there's this. You can apparently, and JJ, obviously I'll let you expound upon this in a second, you can apparently pay your way into their fucking list. Care to expound upon this, JJ?
Okay, so here's how it works. So basically, the top half of the list is your basic televised individuals who get decided on by the people that work for the magazine.
Your legitimized national talents from WWE, AEW, right. Impact, so on and so forth.
Right, and that's Japan, all a matter. Whatever. Right, that's all a matter of their opinion. It also, shit that Meltzer says and stuff has to go into how they figure shit like that out. So what happens is
basically, if there's any legitimate part of it, although I still think it's illegitimate, the only legitimate part is like the top 40%, 50% of the list.
And even then, it's all subject to opinion. It's
Of course.
not, it's all like, it fucking, yeah, it is what it is.
And
So
let's
the
be honest,
bottom,
anybody who puts out a list like this, I don't care if it's us, I don't care if it's Dave Meltzer, I don't care if it's Bill Apter. It's always going to be a matter of opinion. So,
right.
Yeah, whatever.
So the bottom half, what happens is over the course of the year, there are certain ways for you to get into the good graces of PW Insider. Pro Wrestling Illustrated. PW Insider is a very reputable site, and I love Mike Johnson and Dave Scherer. Sorry for that. So there's ways for you to get in the good graces. There are ways where you can send press packages of your material, photographs, diff footage, whatever, to Pro Wrestling Illustrated for the consideration of the 500. Those come with an entry fee. You can also donate to Pro Wrestling Illustrated along with that entry fee to have your stuff taken a little further along the trail. Also, what happens is they will look at, there's a lot of people that will write in like fan results from indie shows around the country. What they will do is they will cross-section if your name has been mentioned in that with if you have given them money. And then that'll get you a little higher up than the bottom 100. And that's why, but most guys, literally fucking guys who are just like, oh my God, I made number 475 on the 500. Motherfucker. So you paid to be there. It is a scientific fact at this point. I got into this, I was looking through my Facebook memories, and I got into this argument with this fucking worker from Iowa who wasn't even on my friends list, who started debating with me. He's like, how the fuck do you know? I'm like, because I know people that have sent in these fucking press packages and sent in donations and have been fucking hit up by people. Because also what'll happen is there's fucking trainers that have schools that will fucking pay to play to have their fucking school mentioned in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, aside from actually paying for ad space, but will pay for consideration. So what happens is the fucking schools will get a kickback if their students put in money for a press package and get featured. This is how people from shit schools in Connecticut a few years ago got featured, and these are guys that don't get fucking booked anywhere. But then they all went about saying, look at me, I'm in the PWI top 500. No, you paid to be there, and your teacher, who's a shit worker, paid to be in there. So it's literally, it's an MLM scam. It's a fucking pyramid scheme. That's it.
I have nothing at this point. By the way, you didn't mention Mike Johnson when you mentioned PW Insider.
Yeah, I did. I said Mike Johnson and Dave Scherer.
Oh, then I didn't hear you correctly. Sorry. Interesting. Okay.
But yeah,
sorry.
My favorite thing to say is that the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500 is the Herbalife of the wrestling industry.
Herbalife. Oh my God. Oh boy. Herbalife. Interesting. So yeah. So basically, long story short, fuck PWI 500. We couldn't care less about it.
Yep.
That was. Yeah. We'll just go with that. Okay. All right. Now we have to get into. We need to get into something that I noticed over the course of the week. That I have to bring up right now. And this is a general. It's a very vague, not stop. All right, not literally tipping your hand, asshole. I know this is a very vague tease. Stop tipping your hand, but this is something that has bugged me for a long time. WWE, AEW, Impact. The only company I can think of that gets it right is New Japan. because I don't, at least from the most recent television I can remember, which was, God, whenever they were still on Access TV, which was what, 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, about 2 years.
They're the only company I can think of that I'm pretty sure did not do this, and I applaud them. I applaud them a lot for it. Stop playing entrance music for run-ins.
Oh, yeah.
I can't fucking stand it. Like, I don't know why, but I don't know. It just, like, it hit me like a ton of bricks over the past week or so. I don't remember which fucking show it was. That's the worst part. Because it's happened so much that I'm just, like, I have nothing to say. Like, it's, I don't know. I don't even get the reasoning. Like, I literally do not get the reasoning.
Yep.
Like, for as long as I can remember, like, every once in a while, WWE does it. But that's only because it's somebody completely new to their audience that's making a, like, for example, when the Nexus first came in, the original Nexus after the first season of NXT, Gallows and Anderson, when they came in with no grandeur, no pageantry. They just came in, attacked, and left. Because again, they were completely new to the WWE audience.
Right.
But any one, like, it doesn't fucking matter who. And it works even worse in AEW because their stage is usually half the length of a WWE stage. So you're basically hearing 5 seconds of music before the talent is in the ring already. And it's like, what's the fucking point? What's the point? What's the goddamn point?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. Like, you can go back to the Attitude Era. Like, I know you like a Stone Cold Pop, but every time it seemed like Stone Cold ran in, they had to have the glass break.
Yeah.
Because God forbid he just ran down the fucking ring on his own accord without hearing his goddamn music.
However, usually in the case of an Austin run-in, there was usually a whole bunch of other run-ins, and then Austin was the exclamation point, which is why they would do the glass break.
Right. Like,
there's
Foley match.
Right. There's ways to use it and there's ways to not use it. Like, perfect example. Not perfect example, but a decent example. WrestleMania 8, the end with the whole hufflefuck between fucking Hogan and Sid.
And Charles not knowing when to fucking come out of the curtain.
Right. But yeah. But Papa Shango does a run in and they're getting the beat down. And then, like, Papa Shango didn't have music. And maybe he would have gotten the right cue if he did, but he didn't have music. So people are watching that, and then boom, Warriors use it, mixed music hits, and the fucking crowd explodes. That's a time where you can use it. But,
well, the two differences being, one, it's a huge ass stadium crowd, so the music helps to build up to him getting in the ring. Two, the Warrior hadn't been seen in what, 6 months?
A year. Yeah, exactly. But as far as it happens, it has gotten so commonplace as far as people getting used to hearing the music when they see it. It was like, the last time I remember it not happening was, remember a few weeks back, I was talking about the takeover I was at, the one where Cole went over Gargano for the title, and how you could tell when someone was about to do a run-in because the house lights would come up over the entranceway.
Yep.
The house lights came up, no music played. I mean, granted, like, it wouldn't have made sense in that matter, like, because usually, if it's during a match, usually, okay. When it makes sense, if it's during a match, the music shouldn't play because that's the ultimate stupidity distraction move now is I'm showboating in the ring and someone's music hits and I look at the stage because I heard the music. Like, that shit's done. Like, run-ins, like, back.
I'll give you an example of when I'd be okay with it. And this is really the only example I can think of when I'd be okay with it. Aside from if it's somebody that's been out for a long time and their return's anticipated. Aside from that, the only time I could ever excuse it and have it make sense is if the music's for a distraction and the talent's coming from somewhere else.
Right.
Like that I'd be okay with. But it's happening every
It is.
single run-in. It's it's become the production version. It's become to production of wrestling shows like Super Kicks has become to the moveset of wrestlers during their matches. It's
Right.
just so overused. It's so commonplace. It's like fuck off with it already.
Right. And the thing is, it's a trickle down. It's a trickle down fucking. It's a trickle down snowball effect. Pick your poison. Where because it happens on TV, the fucking indies do it too, and it leaves no surprise. And the thing is with the indies is like you want your element of surprise. That's why anytime I've ever booked a show, I've always looked at okay, here's where I'm going to put the entrance. What other points of entry do I have that we can utilize? We've had guys come out of fucking concessions because no one's looking there. And you don't hit you need the element of surprise. There was one thing that I remember back like early 2000, like between 04 and 06, I was going to, I would pretty much hit up every Ring of Honor show in the Connecticut, Mass area. And most of them were fun. One of the things that I really realized that started distracting, even though I loved the character, was anytime the Rottweilers were out and Julius Smokes would be out there, he would start motioning to the fucking entranceway, like during every match that he was out there. And so we would start looking, thinking that there was going to be a run. And he was faking people out. He was trolling people, which hindsight being 2020, good on you. But the thing was, we became so used to seeing the Rottweilers doing a run in that the second we saw his hand go up, we're like, who's it going to be? Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? And that takes away from what's happening in the ring. Cornette even said it the other, like last week, where he was like, you're running the town bad when people are looking more at the entrance than they are at the ring during the matches because they're expecting the run in.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just it's gotten way out of control. And by the way, it's funny you mentioned it now being the shit rolling downhill effect.
Yeah.
Can I just try telling you? Because oh my god, how like here's the worst part, and I'm not specifically trying to bash anyone, but anybody who's worked shows with me, you can probably figure out whose shows I'm referring to. The worst part is when, for whatever fucking reason, you do have like specific cues for when music needs to start for a run-in, and the person doing the music for you has no fucking clue about wrestling and doesn't understand cues. Oh, don't get me fucking started. Do not get me fucking started.
Dude.
Or the wrestling fans get too distracted by what's going on and forget the cue, and then it's like, oh, shit. Like that too. Like I've experienced both, and it's just, oh, what a clusterfuck.
Fucking back in Revival Pro, fucking Gary the sound guy. Nice dude. Clueless. Fucking clueless.
Which again, because also with it, increasing surprise, you're also cutting down on the potential of a fuck up. Because now you're involving more hands and more ears and more eyes on something that doesn't need all those eyes and ears on it. Just let the talent do what they're supposed to do and just fuck off with the production elements.
Yeah.
Any loser. I don't know. I just like that. I wish I could remember off the top of my head. I'm sure if I went through my phone real quick, because I still have all the matches from WWE TV here. I'm trying to remember if there was a specific one that caught me and just really fucking sent me into a tizzy. I can't remember which one it was. I don't think it was NXT. No, NXT didn't really have any run-ins I can think of. I don't know. I'm sure I'll think of it, but I don't know. It was a.
Yep.
It caught me off guard, and I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, just what are we doing? I don't understand it. All right, so let's get into. Oh boy. See, for as much as I am still in the camp that I put myself into in episode 16 of the show, I had to put this banner up. I had to put up the AEW TF banner. Now, you haven't given me any reason to continue AEW TF. I have my own reasoning.
Oh, I've got plenty of reasons.
I have my own reasoning. I understand the fan base is more indie-centric, we'll call it, than the WWE fan base.
Yeah.
Let me just put this out there. There are still some good things coming out of AEW. As far as the people being brought in, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm never going to say that they're ever going to get on the level of WWE, but they're making very small baby steps. But here's what I want to bring up. Why the stacking of, and I understand it's a big pay-per-view, it's considered, I think All Out's considered basically their WrestleMania, quote unquote.
It's hard. I don't know which one is All In or All Out. One of them.
Well, All In became All Out.
Oh, it did.
All In was
what
the
it is?
All In was the All In was the original show before when it was just Cody and the Bucks.
Yeah, but
on their own.
And
then when AEW, when they became AEW, it became All Out.
Oh, because I thought like one did the male casino battle royal and one did the female casino battle royal. I don't know.
Well, you're thinking of Double or Nothing and All Out.
Oh, that's okay. That's why. Never mind. Okay, that's
Double or Nothing is right.
So All Out is pretty much
Yeah, because All In was their first ever event, but it wasn't AEW yet. That was their fuck all y'all. We're running our own show. Yeah. And then when they got involved with Tony Khan, it became All Out. Anyways, so this is essentially their WrestleMania show. So I'll give them 5% of my understanding for why they did this. But you stacked up the debuts of Ruby, Cole, and Danielson all into one night, when the only one that was necessary at all creatively to the show was Ruby. You could have had Adam come in on, say, Dynamite this week, or just whenever Kenny wrestles next, whenever the fuck that's going to be. You could have saved Danielson for let me put this in. I know creatively it doesn't make sense, but here's what I personally would have done with Danielson, especially considering what they just announced. Because AEW had just announced during Dynamite this week that Cody Rhodes is coming back for the Flushing show and he's going to get a rematch with Malachi Black.
Right.
Okay. Dickhead, just let me run with this.
Okay.
To me, even though he's not Nightmare Family, I think you would have done some. I think it would have been a good start with Danielson if you had Black go over again on Cody, which now I doubt will happen, but whatever. But you have Malachi go over on Cody, and then Danielson debuted and
went after
approached Malachi. That would have been, to me, one of the more perfect ways you could have debuted Danielson. Instead, you use it as a throwaway at the very end of a 4-hour pay-per-view when some of your viewers had probably already left the pay-per-view thinking it was over once Kenny won the match. And then all of a sudden you have him come out on Dynamite and just be like, I want a title shot. Oh, that's not how it works around here, kind of thing. Weird thing. whatever the fuck you want to call what he did on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, you scored the pooch on 2 of the 3 debuts. More so on one than the other. Like, the Cole, like, you screwed the pooch on Cole, but at least Cole didn't sound like half an idiot when he came out on Dynamite. With Brian, you just kind of you did both. The pooch with the debut, and then on Dynamite, he's challenging. He wants to challenge Omega, but I don't know. That whole segment that whole portion of the segment was a clusterfuck. It sounded like a clusterfuck, really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then on top of that, by the way, can somebody learn how to time a show properly?
Dude, what have I been saying for every week since we started the show?
Right, but one of the most glaring errors is that they fucked up the timing of the show so bad. You cut short one of the most, this might be a strong word to use, but iconic.
Yeah, Kazunari. Yeah.
Right. Like,
trust me, fucking Carol was blowing up Shell's phone about it.
I know. Like, I'm not usually big on, like, I usually don't give a shit about that kind of stuff, but considering the talent involved and, like, I don't know. And on top of that, you made Moxley Suzuki a 10-minute match essentially.
Well, there was a reason for that.
And Suzuki didn't really do much in the match.
There were 2 reasons for that. 1, they were short on TV time. 2, Mox was taking it home as soon as he fucking busted Suzuki over hard way and said, fuck. Which is why he was super gentle on that finish and then left through the stands. He was afraid.
See, I watched that part back twice. And I tried pinpointing how the fuck that happened.
It was because he was too snug on that first paradigm shift, and frickin' Suzuki just frickin' rug burned, what do you call it? Canvas burned right into his eye.
Oh, okay. Because I know right around that time they were also headbutting each other, and I was just like, did Mox fuck up one of his headbutts? Like, I couldn't.
Nope.
No. Okay. Yeah, because that was
way too snug, and then said shit.
Yeah, that was pretty fugly.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty fugly on Suzuki.
Right. But I mean, fucking AEW fucked that all up because number one, like, they had Suzuki come out at All Out, and then they're like, this is going to happen Wednesday night. Like, motherfucker, no. Like, they already had one match last year, and people are like, and that's the thing, like, it's a match people have already seen. So you're not surprising anyone. But if you're trying to build up a specific
it's fucking Minoru Suzuki. Why the fuck are you putting him on free TV?
Exactly. Like, they could have they could have at least spanned it out and have a 1-week build to that match, a 2-week build, have that be on the Flushing show because you really want to pack that shit because you want to fucking stick it to events, blah blah blah. Like, you could have had that on the fucking Flushing show and not a throwaway match on fucking 3 days after All Out when everyone's already fucking burnt out. And like, that's just the tip of the fucking iceberg with that type of shit. Like, I have so many words and so many feelings about so much that happened this weekend. And like, I got into a real bad argument with Shell last night when Adam Cole came out.
So, I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch the show because as much as I'm becoming a fan of the brand, I didn't feel like paying $50 to watch it on Fight TV.
Fuck that.
Oh, that's another thing, by the way. So, I'm not sure if you still can do this, but I know when AEW first I know when AEW first started, you could buy because we still had DirecTV at the time in this household. You could get the pay-per-view on DirecTV. So now it seems like they're exclusively only Fight TV from the looks of it, at least in the US. Am I correct on that?
Might be. I'm not sure. Well, I don't know because I saw a lot of commercials for the pay-per-view as bumpers on YouTube. So I'm thinking it might still have been available through cable providers.
All right. So, well, I know it wasn't available for Spectrum, which is what I have in. I don't know. What do you have? You have what, Cox? Well, in that area, what's in that area?
Here,
Cox?
Around here, it's Cox, Frontier, Optimum, and Xfinity.
Frontier, that's right. That's what I was thinking of. That was the other one I was thinking of. Okay. Yeah. So, like, plus, honestly, I know you were running, what, 4 pay-per-views a year? Even WWE wasn't $50 for every single pay-per-view.
Right.
WWE was what? Usually 30 to 40?
So
their higher end pay-per-views were like 60 for HD or something like that.
Yeah, like prior to the network, the big 4 were running around 60. Mania started getting to like 70, 75 for HD, but that was before the network, and obviously things have changed since then.
And they were running 4 hours by then.
And they have a professional production team.
Right. So obviously, like I just mentioned, I didn't see the show start to finish, but I'm looking at these results. First of all, nobody really gives 2 shits about Best Friends versus Hardy Family Office. Let's just put that out there. No. Nobody really cares. Although now it sounds like they want to tease Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy in a hair match, is what it sounds like. Fucking
yep.
Who cares?
But AEW doesn't do the same matches over and over.
They haven't had a hair match, though, have they?
They haven't had a hair match, but how many times have fucking Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy been on the fucking opposite side of the ring against each other in just the past fucking month?
Well, they've done a lot of different incantations, but they haven't actually had Orange versus Matt Hardy, per se.
Except for the time they busted open his face.
Well, that was part of it. That was part of it. Like, what was it? A 6-man tag, 8-man tag, something like that?
No, that was a singles match. That was a 1-on-1.
Well, that was their one singles match. But I mean, like, Orange has been facing Angelico. He's faced Jack Evans. I think he had a 1-on-1 against Quen at one point, I want to say. Or was it Cassidy? No, it was Cassidy, actually. But anyways, I'm gonna stop trying to defend that. Let me just move on. It looks like they want to make Miro and Kingston a longer term angle.
I don't think they are.
Unless I misjudged what that promo bump was for between them last night on Dynamite. I don't know if I did. I don't know.
They'll probably have one more match and then write it off. Like, because that's
what I'm talking about. Like, it wasn't just a one-off from the pay-per-view is what I'm saying.
Right, but the thing is with Miro, especially since winning the TNT title, it's just one-offs. Maybe like it's I defend my belt against you. Okay, now I'm done. Like, it's a fucking mid-card title that there's no feuds for. Like, Ed, number one, fuck Tony Khan for saying the TNT title is not a mid-card title, because it is. Sorry, fuck you. But like, you look back at fucking mid 90s, or well, even like early 90s fucking WWF and WCW with the US title and the Intercontinental title, and even the TV title. Like, there were feuds for it. It wasn't one and fucking done. Brett and Shawn cut their fucking teeth on their feud for the IC title. Fucking Malenko and fucking Eddie Guerrero and and Jericho, fucking all with the TV title. Like, you need more than one-off fucking matches.
And even before that, like a lot of stuff with Regal, like Regal and Steamboat, Rude and Steamboat, Regal and Austin.
Dude, the fucking 80s with fucking Tully and fucking Magnum TA.
Yeah.
And fucking Dusty and Tully. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. Britt and Statlander now leading to Britt and Soho eventually. Yeah, I know you don't like Britt Baker, I know.
She's terrible.
This is another complaint I have here.
Go ahead.
Children are watching.
Uh-huh.
Children reflect what they see and hear.
But you see, dude, they don't care about children. They're trying for that 18 to 49 male demo. They don't give a fuck about any children watching. That's the problem.
I made Kurt Angle proud. I drank some milk today. Why are they flipping thumbtack shoes?
Cause reasons. Dude, here's
why.
Because they already did that fucking super kick with the thumbtacks in the mouth spot to death. So they had to be
not in front of 200 people at a PWG show. You're in front of thousands of people in Chicago with a worldwide streaming audience on Fight TV that you have kids in the crowd, kids watching. Kids imitate what they hear and see.
Yeah, I know.
You can't fucking do that shit.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But the fact is, they don't care about children. They care about the male 18 to 49 demographic, and then that's all they fucking cater to. Because, and I hate to, I don't hate to say it, but I've said it before. Look at the crowd when they span the crowd shots at every fucking episode of Dynamite. You hardly see any women, and it is all fucking 18 to 45-year-old fucking basement dwelling chuds.
It's a sausage fest.
It is.
Which makes me wonder why Carol went to Chicago, but whatever.
Because number one, she bought tickets for All Out fucking the second they went on sale because she's always been a Bucks.
I'm just looking around.
She's always been a Bucks mark, and she fucking loves Statlander, and she fucking and she loves fucking Luchasaurus. So like, Carol is an outlier. That is not their like. Carol is like one of those people that's an outlier, and like because Carol's always been a wrestling fan, which I don't understand why she watches this crap, but
she's one of the bigger New Japan marks I know of too.
That too. So that's why, but you're not going to find, Carol's a rarity. You're not going to find that with your common wrestling base. I mean, even as it is, you look at the WWE crowd, the women are there because they like guys like John Cena and Randy Orton because they're cute, or they're there because they're the moms of the kids that like going to the shows. That's why WWE will always defeat AEW because they, as much as people don't like the cartoony shit, they are catering to a wider base. AEW is so fucking dead set on 18 to 49 males that's all they fucking do. And it's going to fucking hurt them in the long run. And also that fucking cage match.
Yep.
The plancha off of the fucking top onto all three of them should have been the finish. There was no need to fucking pick them up and then do a fucking package pile driver shit after that. There was no need. That big spot, the crowd popped. You could have 1, 2, 3, and boom, and the crowd would have exploded. But no, they had to add in extra shit. Plus, you haven't fucking noticed, fucking Penta's got the fucking Bucks there in the fucking Three Stooges whoop thing. Here comes Phoenix flying off the top, lands on all three of them. Penta's in the center, so he catches the brunt of everything. Right afterwards, the Bucks are selling. Penta pops right up like it was nothing to do that fucking finishing spot. That's not selling. Like, and I like the fucking Lucha Brothers to an extent. And I understand Lucha Libre to an extent. That was not Lucha Libre. That was a spot fest.
Well, yeah, I remember who the opponents were. Yeah, I remember the opponents were.
Well, of course. But I mean, fucking, and in all honesty, I'm going to call a fucking spade a spade. The only reason the Bucks dropped those titles last night was because, number one, they painted themselves into a corner because they buried every tag team they have on their fucking roster.
Correct.
But number two is because as it led up to at the finish, and if you looked at the split screen of who was facing who, I'm telling you right now, the finals for their fucking trios titles are going to be the Young Bucks and Adam Cole versus fucking Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and fucking Bryan Danielson. That's going to be the long-term program for the next 2 months with them when they introduce the fucking trios titles. Because here's what it is, and I'm going to go into a little bit about Cole and Brian and all that shit. So Brian, Punk, Black, all the ex-WWE guys that they've brought in, they're there for 2 reasons. 1, to pop the rating the first time they come out, and 2, to do the job to the EVPs. The end game is for Cody and Kenny and the fucking Bucks and even Jericho to an extent to go, I'm king shit of fuck mountain. We brought in this guy just so I could pin him. That's what's going to happen to Brian. That's what's going to happen. Malachi Black, fucking have. Hope you had fun the last month, because the second Cody comes back, you're going to be relegated to fucking dark. Fucking Punk's I'll get to Punk in a second. Fucking, they're there to do the job. Meanwhile, Adam Cole comes in and he's one of their boys. So Adam Cole's already going to get pushed in the fucking stratosphere. But even so, he's another ex-WWE guy. I want to present something, and like how I mentioned how I said I wanted to go off about how Mick Foley is wrong. Just basically this one little point, so we don't have to like do this whole build. But Mick Foley basically said that, WWE is hamstringing themselves, and that AEW is going to fucking go ahead of them without them noticing, and WWE is their own worst enemy, and blah, blah, blah. No.
And then they have creative issues and shit like that.
Right. None of that is true. Here's the issue. AEW is run by people who are still mental midgets. It's run by people who still have that us versus them fuck you mentality. Like, guess what? The moment you got a money mark and got a TV deal, you should have been focused on giving the audience a product they want to watch, not putting yourselves over. It is no longer about fuck you, I'm God. It's about I want to present something to the world. It's basic narcissism. It's people not knowing how to keep their fucking egos in check. And then you get people, and then what happens is their egos get fed because they get Tony Khan to sign a fucking check to get the ex-WWE guy to come in. And so they're like, ha, look at us. And then get to bring in their own friend and give them more money. Fucking Adam Cole, the second he comes out last night, he goes, I'm going to tell you a story. And I was like, you going to tell him the story about how you're the fucking dumbass who wanted main roster money to stay in NXT? Because that makes sense. And that's when me and Shell got in a huge argument. But I thought it was the funniest thing that she actually said he deserved a pay bump because he's the one that NXT made all their money on the back of. And I'm like, no. Because I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that Adam Cole was champ for the first year that AEW was on TV, and the AEW was still winning in the ratings. So, no. Anyways, it's not being run like a business. It's being run like a bunch of indie guys who are pissed. Not that they weren't getting booked anywhere, because that's usually the case with a lot of indies. It's a handful of indie guys that aren't getting booked anywhere, so they start their own company so they could be like, fuck you, and then they draw 20 people. And they do that for a handful of times, and then they fucking stop. And the company goes away. The problem with AEW is they got a fucking money mark, and here they are, and they're signing every fucking ex-WWE guy that comes in. Now, if you recall, when AEW first started, they were supposed to be the wrestling alternative. They were supposed to be the place where other people could go, that the place where real wrestlers could aspire to. Tell me something. Now, granted, we had a pandemic, so there was a year that indies couldn't run. So that was kind of hard. But in the time that AEW has been here, I want you to look at who was there from the beginning, as far as who they originally signed, your Orange Cassidys, your Private Parties, your Adam Page, blah, 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 blah. I want you to honestly tell me who, from day one of AEW until 3 days after All Out, who there has gotten a significant push that was not an AEW original or an ex-WWE guy that they brought in.
Who was not an AEW original?
Yeah, like not part of that original group. Because obviously, like, basically what I'm saying is everyone's like, oh, this was the part of Mick Foley is wrong. He's like, this is the new place that indie guys can aspire to. No indie guys are getting a push there. They get to come in and fucking do the job on Dark for $350. And maybe some of them get signed to keep doing jobs on AEW Dark for $350. But nobody's becoming a star there. Nobody.
No, I'm here. I'm thinking about the question.
I know. Even guys like, even like the newer guys like fucking Daniel Garcia, like, okay, he's been featured on TV for a couple of weeks, but that's it. Like, there's nobody. Like, the only person who's gotten a semblance of a creative push, but that's because of who he's friends with since showing up, because he wasn't there from the get-go, is Eddie Kingston. And even that is not much.
Right, because he still did the job to the Bucks, and then whatever he's doing with Miro right now.
Right. Like, everybody, it's ex-WWE guys that get brought in to be put on a fucking pedestal, or they get brought in to do the job to the EVPs. That's their business model. Meanwhile, as much as people want to bitch about WWE, all the hot indie talents of the past 4 years have gotten signed by WWE. We won't go into semantics on who's used properly and blah, blah, blah. They got signed. They got paid. Most of them are still there.
I'm waiting for you to get into the one name you said you were going to talk about later.
CM Punk. Remember what I said right after Punk came out the first time, and I said, this is how it's going to be? And I said he's going to phone in matches.
Go ahead.
He phoned in his first fucking match. Legit. Fucking, and the thing was, people noticed it right away, and how they paid homage to Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid. No, they ripped off the fucking match. That was it. Punk fucking phoned it, and Punk sat there and went to Darby and went, okay, so we got babyface versus babyface, and I want to kind of make you look good, but I still need to go over. Hey, did you ever watch that Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match on Raw that everyone, like every fucking wrestling historian still points to this day? Yeah, let's just do that. Fuck it. Let's not work the crowd. Let's just fucking do that. And then they fucking admitted it. And what happens? What fucking happens? AEW fucking, their fucking cult have fucking AEW's cock so far lodged down their fucking throats that they're like, so that was cool. That was homage. Motherfucker, no. Because I will tell you this, and there is no fucking debate. If fucking Seth Rollins and Edge had gone out at fucking SummerSlam and reenacted fucking Bret and Bulldog or Steamboat and Savage from Mania 3 beat by beat, the fucking internet would be asking for them, Vince, and everybody in that fucking stadium to get crucified for it. You can't rip off a fucking match and expect people not to know. And then fucking afterwards, when people do find out, be like, oh no, it was a tribute. No, yeah, we are paying homage to those. Motherfucker, no, fuck you.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, that was just All Out. As far as Dynamite went,
You don't want to make fun of Jericho finally winning or Kenny Omega keeping the belt?
Oh, sorry, but we knew Kenny was keeping the fucking belt. We knew that was happening. Jericho fucking went. We knew that was going to happen because Jericho has to feed his ego. But having MJF tap out was the worst fucking decision of that, because that makes it harder for MJF to come back from. Like, he could have just given him the Judas effect and pinned him, and everything would have been fine. But no,
I think MJF shitting on Brian Pillman's family was pretty good last night.
Okay, so that was good, but we saw it coming a mile away because before that segment, Punk was out there and goes right over to Pillman's aunt and daughter and is fucking kowtowing them in front of the camera. So we already knew they were fucking there. So we knew the moment MJF came out, he was going to go after them. They tipped their fucking hand too early. And then, like, I love how, like, I was sitting there, it's just like, oh, but Max Caster gets in trouble for the shit that he said. I was like, no, apples and oranges. Fucking MJF, fucking, I guarantee, ran shit by them, and MJF was probably sitting there with fucking Pillman Jr. in the back going, dude, I loved your fucking dad. And you know that everything I say is just heel heat. Probably went to them and be like, listen, I love you guys. Because MJF, whether people want to admit it or not, is a stand-up fucking kid. And I guarantee that was all cleared. Big fucking difference. But what's MJF going to get out of this? Him and Wardlow against fucking the Varsity Blondes? Yay. And now we're acting like the Pinnacle is a thing again, apparently. Like, it's been ignored for the past 2 months while MJF and Jericho have had their singles thing, and now, like, oh yeah, it's a thing again. Like, here's Sean Spears with FTR. Like, why? Oh yeah, I know why. Because you got a trios title coming out, so you know you got to introduce more fucking people for it.
Well, Inner Circle also hasn't really been a thing much since the Stadium Stampede match.
Right. Both of them. It was just like they threw them in mothballs, and they're like, we'll dust them off whenever we want. Just like the whole Sammy Guevara with the fucking cue cards thing. That's literally filler when they figure out a proper time. Like basically, like, they figured out, they're like, oh shit, we have a commercial break coming up with picture in picture, and there isn't a match going on. And that's why Sammy is always on standby with those cue cards. So literally, this motherfucker does that shit every week for it to be done once every couple of months. Like, that just goes towards their entire not knowing how to produce their television show correctly and having picture in picture for fucking everything. Fucking, and you know, fucking Malachi Black and Dustin Rhodes. You got two guys who are pretty damn good. Sometimes two dance partners just don't work. Because goddamn, I tell you, that must have been one hell of a black mass for Malachi Black to hit him in the shoulder and for it to make Dustin's mouth bleed. I'm not sure about the chain reaction of physics in that.
Although I will say this, I think they're looking to move towards MJF and Wardlow is what I think I'm seeing here.
So that's going to mean that's going to be their next thing is fucking the Pinnacle splitting. So it's going to be the Inner Circle all over again. Except now it's not going to be split into two things. Now it's just going to be them splitting up, which they're already doing with the fucking Dark Order. Like, they don't have coherent stories. They're doing the same thing several times during the same show. It's a clusterfuck, and I'm so mad that, like, I wanted to see the overnight ratings before we went on, but I can't find them anywhere. Because, like I said, I don't think they even broke 1.3 million last night.
I think there is a slight difference. Like, I'm not saying it. I wouldn't say go as far as it's apples and oranges, but it's apples and peaches. I don't fucking know. But Dark Order, their issue per story is there's no official, there's like no leader.
Right.
Like, and that's been the story really ever since
Brody died.
Right. That's essentially been the story they've been riding with, except they let Hangman kind of like it was. They started it more around Hangman maybe coming in or not.
Right.
Until now.
Yeah.
With Pinnacle, let's be real. Like MJF is the center point of that whole group.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. Plus, MJF and Wardlow goes even before Pinnacle. Like this goes from day one of Wardlow showing up, and he was essentially labeled as MJF's bitch from the get-go. So it's like, okay. So let's transition into some WWE talk. There's three main things I want to discuss before we wrap things up. Number one, so as more information has been very slowly and not so much coming out, there's been, I don't know how this shit's been kept so under wraps, although I don't think there's really much to keep under wraps at this point.
Yeah.
I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, because there's two different NXT stories. The one I'm referring to is there are conflicting reports about whether or not Vince and Bruce Pritchard are going to be involved behind the scenes with NXT. Now,
you don't say.
Obviously, what comes into play as well is the report over the last 48 hours of Hunter having health complications that involved some kind of extensive treatment, and he's kind of MIA for the time being. So it's possible that maybe, and this is not me excusing whoever originally put out there that Vince and Bruce are going to run behind the scenes when it might have been false originally, but it's possible maybe that with Hunter being on the sidelines for the short term, you might see one or the other more involved than usual with the programming.
Right. I could absolutely see Bruce as a liaison and Hunter booking shit via Zoom.
Correct. Now we have this rebranding coming out next week, and we'll have full reaction to that obviously on episode 18. From everything I'm seeing, I don't understand how they must have a different building.
They've gotta. That's
There's no other way, because there's no way to build up your staging and build up your seating. And from all the teases they've been giving, and especially since they've been dropping the sketches,
splash screens. Yeah,
the sketches and the splash screens. It looks like, I mean, I wouldn't say stadium seating, but like you have wider. Yes, thank you. So it looks.
Looks like a bowl.
It looks like it looks like they took the seating, kind of the seating layout of what they had at Full Sail, and pushed it up a little bit to spread out. I just don't know where they would have, what space they would have gotten for that. That's the only thing I'm confused by. Because they're not moving out of Florida.
Right.
At least if they are, they've been really keeping it under wraps, so at this point I'd say no, they're still in Florida somewhere. Yeah. I just can't think of a building.
We're going to have to find out.
Because you would assume it's a college campus building, maybe, but I can't. Because UCF, there's no building like that. Because we've seen the UCF building when they had Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back, because we saw it with screens around. We didn't see the seating necessarily.
Right.
So maybe. But school's in session there, and they need it for athletics. So I don't see why they would be using a college campus building at all.
Right.
I don't know. I'm as confused as everyone else, I think, right now.
Right. But I mean,
so clearly it's a building with different seating. We can tell that, A, and B, they're going to have different entrance staging from the looks of it.
Yeah. So you remember last week how you got all mad, and I said it could very well just be a change in aesthetics. I'm just saying, look at this past week of NXT and look at what they built up for next week. Not much is changing. We've got a 4-way number 1 contenders match with the people who have already been established for that. We've got a women's title match that we've had to build towards. We got the index wedding. Not much has changed.
For now.
Right. But what I'm saying is people got all fucking doom and gloom when we have to wait and see. And it looks like a lot of it is the change in aesthetics, the entrances, the seating, the lighting, and possibly more ad space. Because, and here's the thing, it's one of the things, like I touched on it last week, but I was having a conversation with someone, a text conversation, and it really dawned on me. Because I mean, I love NXT. I've been in NXT diehard since the Hulu days, when that was the only place you could see it. Like after game show, but pre-network. I love the product, but when the casual fan approaches NXT right now, if they change the channel, they see a black studio, they see Hockey Wars, they see a logo that's black with a big metallic skull and wings, and that's 18 to 49 male demo. Much as I said a little earlier, the AEW. They're trying to open it up to a wider viewing base. And we have to see how that happens. But as it is, and hi, this is me. My fucking company's logo is Skulls on Fire. But we're a niche company. NXT is part of something that is not a niche company. So we have to see where they're going to go with it. I'm optimistic.
I'm trying to figure out what I can say here. All right. So here's the question I'll pose to you.
Okay.
Even though WWE isn't a niche company, if executed properly, unlike WWE ECW, if executed properly, can't you have a niche brand within your non-niche company?
You can.
Because I feel like NXT has been a niche brand since Triple H took over.
It has. And the thing is, like, especially like early NXT up until the quote unquote Wednesday Night Wars, NXT had a different look and feel to it. Basically when the head to head started, that's when they started going far too heavy on the 18 to 49 demo. And I think that's what hurt them. Like I said, I love the product. I always have. But it wasn't really because the first couple of takeovers that aired as specials on Wednesday night, they were physical, but they were in the realm of WWE style. NXT has been a lot more, I don't want to say gimmicky, but just too focused on one part of the population. So they're trying to tweak that a little bit. That's business. I mean, if you think about it too, if you think about WWE ECW, how when they first started, they tried to be total niche. They failed miserably at it, but they tried to be total niche and the numbers weren't that great. So if you noticed over the course before it phased out, ECW was basically becoming developmental TV. that was where guys that were in Florida Championship, or actually Deep South at the time, were first getting their TV time. Guys like Ricky Ortiz and Kofi and Punk and them. It was actually OVW and Deep South. But it was before Florida Championship. Right. But so it was developmental TV, and it just had the ECW name, and they would throw in a hardcore match every now and then. That's could be the direction they're going. And because it's still NXT, it's a WWE product. It's not an ECW product. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People's expectations of ECW were too high because they were expecting fire and tables and TLA and all that shit every week.
Which is why they never should have used that brand name to begin with.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to another piece of WWE news. The other NXT thing I wanted to bring up. This is something you brought to my attention. So, and this is something you originally freaked out about until we dug a little deeper. So, WWE is filing to dissolve NXT UK holdings. Now, upon further digging, what this essentially means, because I'm not sure how many NXT UK fans freaked out when they saw this. This is essentially, it's essentially a further merging of resources within WWE corporate.
And it's part of the brand restructuring.
Right. This is not about them taking NXT UK off TV. This is not about them cutting NXT UK out completely. This is not about firing talents that are relying on NXT UK for exposure and growth. It's simply them doing a corporate dissolution of a brand they are no longer carrying within the company, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So again, it's all corporate bullshit.
Right.
It's all about numbers and stock prices and shit. It has nothing to do with the talent themselves.
Right.
So I felt like that had to be put out there because I know you freaked. I kind of freaked. And then we did a little more digging. We were like, oh.
It's just some business stuff. It's just some numbers.
It's all suit and tie bullshit, basically. So, yeah. So don't freak out, NXT UK fans. You're still going to get your Dragunov. You still got your Tyler Bates, your Trent Sevens, your Coffees. You're fine. It's okay. Yeah. So I just feel like we had to address that quickly.
Dude, they already broke up the British UE.
Yeah.
You know what I think is going to happen?
Which now kind of fucks your War Games idea, by the way.
It does, but it doesn't, because here's what I'll tell you. Honestly, obviously, it's not going to be that, but here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking of how it's going to restructure. Because I think they still want to put eggs in that basket. What I believe they may do is Biff and Danny are baby faces now. Mm-hmm. Put them with MSK. Have Dunn and Rich Holland join up with the Grizzled Young Veterans and have it straight British.
Ooh, GYV, yeah. Because they've been on TV in a few weeks.
Right, not since the vignettes with Grimes and Knight.
Yeah.
So.
Intriguing.
And do British, basically NXT UK OGs versus NXT.
Right. I wasn't really going to get into too much in-ring stuff with WWE this week, but now that you mention it, what'd you make of this brothers tag team?
The Crane brothers. What are they? Creed. It is Creed. They are not ready for TV. They are not. They are pale as fuck. They're wearing just generic ass singlets. Like they're trying to make them the Haas brothers, and they're not ready yet. They are not ready, and they're going to get pushed to fucking. And Diamond Mine is Team Taz, as I said before. They're not ready. They need a lot more polish. What I thought was funny was, go ahead.
Finish your thought, because I thought it's another way they could do that War Games match. Go ahead, though.
Okay. Yeah. One of the other things I thought was funny that I don't think many people caught up on was in that freaking Ember versus Kaylee Ray match. You notice Ember popped out something. Nobody said boo. Ember used a one-winged angel as a transitional move.
I did notice that, but it was kind of. It was weird though, because Kaylee Ray was still standing behind her, and then like leveraged one leg onto her shoulder, and then just kind of.
Yep.
Like it did, it was essentially a one-winged angel, but it was more. It looked more snapmare suplexy than it was really weird. But yeah, I caught that. And I didn't know where I felt like I'd seen it before, but then now that you mentioned, I'm like, oh, yeah, kinda, yeah.
Yep. And Karen Q had her fucking in-ring debut.
I still don't know what to make of that.
I think that they'll fucking
losing Xia Li didn't help.
I think Xia will be back. I think Xia is just recuperating from that injury. Right. I think they'll put. I think Mei Ying and Xia. Mei Ying and Xia will definitely be in contention for the women's tag titles, because they kind of need something to do with that now, because they keep Casey and Caden fucking got taken out by the Great Value Goths. Fucking. Oh, dude, what sense does that make? Casey and Caden lose the match. The Great Value Goths attack them instead of the champs. Wouldn't you want to attack the champs to try to get a title shot?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. That's weird. Yeah, I thought that was out of place as well, but or if anything, attack Saray, who fucked up Mandy Rose's face, but whatever. The other thing I want to bring up quick before we wrap up. I don't know if you saw this news. Gable Steveson,
yep, the
Olympic gold medalist wrestler, he officially signed with WWE, but it's an interesting deal. Because for those of you who are familiar with college sports, you'll understand this phrase. It's a multi-year deal, first of all, but it's also a multi-faceted deal, multi-layered, I should say. Because it's more than just a WWE talent contract that will allow him to make appearances during his upcoming senior year at the University of Minnesota. They're also essentially labeling him a WWE athlete and using name, image, and likeness to sponsor him while he competes and tries to defend his NCAA wrestling title during his senior year at the University of Minnesota, which is intriguing because now
rules and shit like that.
Well, no. It's as long as it's following compliance. I'm sure Gable wouldn't have signed off on it being an Olympic gold medalist and NCAA champion if he didn't run it by the compliance office at Minnesota.
Yeah,
but that's intriguing now, because now all of a sudden, and I never thought of this when the NIL rules came out August 1st from the NCAA. WWE could now, if they want to, they could start scouting talents pre-college graduations and during Olympic trials and go, hey, let's talk to these guys. And you could potentially sign these guys before they even set foot in a squared circle and get your name out there to an even more broader audience in the college ranks that don't usually give two shits about WWE.
And it gives legitimacy back to WWE.
Like, Vern Gagne is probably rolling over his grave and is like, I was 50 years too early. Like, because let me tell you this, if him and AWA were still alive, they would have eaten this shit up for lunch. Because that was his niche, was amateur wrestlers. Going back to the Brad Rainses and all the guys he trained coming out. I think it was he trained Ken Patera, I believe, as well. Like, you think about all the amateur wrestlers that he worked with over the 70s and 80s. I mean, fuck, Vern would have eaten this shit alive in 2021 if AWA was around now.
Yep. But, WWE doesn't know what they're doing. With all this new...
It's corporate versus creative. It's a little different.
Exactly.
A little different.
What I'm saying is everybody got all pissed when Nick Khan went and said, we're not going to sign indie guys, which there still are. They're just going to be a lull. But the whole, we're going to look for athletes and shit. And Vern did that shit back in the day. And let's face it, WWE's done it before. And that's how they got Kurt Angle. That's how they got Brock. That's how they got Bianca Belair, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, because Bianca was what, like a world-class track and field athlete, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, they're still going to go after world-class caliber athletes. That's never going to stop. Let's just put that out there. Right. It's just not going to stop. Will they also go for the occasional bodybuilding swimsuit model? Possibly. Probably. Who knows? That's how Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose got jobs, so probably. But yeah, so that's that. I gotta be honest, just quick glance at everything. Nothing honestly really stuck out to me from anything on television this week.
Not really. I think all roads are leading to the MSG show on Friday.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of wait and see. Obviously, the intriguing part about the MSG show is everything involving Brock and Roman and Heyman, so we'll wait and see on that. And
Taker's making an appearance.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, they got to push that Netflix special because they got that new money.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's why he's showing up there.
Who's doing it with him again? Oh, New Day.
New Day. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo that's Choose Your Own Adventure.
And that's why it's being labeled a super show, because they'll probably have New Day appear with Taker for that.
Definitely.
Oh, fuck me. Jesus. Fuck me sideways. I can't imagine what a New Day Undertaker segment's going to be like. Anyways.
I think it'll be fun.
Oh! Before we go, I need to give you the floor, because there's something we didn't cover yet.
Oh, yes.
Sir, the return of Behind the Blackball. I don't know how I left this for last, but sure, let's fucking do it. Yeah. JJ, floor is yours.
All right. And I'll preface this, like before, bro, by saying that it brings me no pleasure to have to do these segments. I know a lot of people think I love airing out dirty laundry and, getting my vendettas out and shit. And something, there's a lot of people I don't get along with in this business, and that it is what it is. That has nothing to do with my own personal life. This has to do with making the business better for other people. First and foremost, this segment originally started back on Full Circle Radio with just trying to get the word out so that shitbag workers couldn't get booked and shitbag promoters couldn't book people, because we have to police ourselves in the wrestling world. So that being said, this week's edition of Behind the Blackball involves someone who I've been telling people for years is a shitbag. But people didn't want to listen. Well, now, this week, more workers have come out. Most, in specific, gentlemen from the New Jersey, New York area by the name of Dirtbag Dan outed him. And that is Dan Gore, the owner / booker / promoter of Battlefront Pro Wrestling, or Battlefront Pro Wrestling Extreme, that usually runs out of Ludlow, Massachusetts. Exactly. Thank you, Titus. So, this guy... Titus, please. There are several reasons why this guy made the list, but just the most recent is Dirtbag Dan outed him for trying to short him on pay on the last show that he did a couple of weeks ago. Tried to short him on pay, shorted a whole bunch of other workers on pay on the show, and claimed that he really shouldn't have to pay any of them because a lot of them work. There's another place in Mass that does free Sunday shows, much like the school I used to work with. It's another school. It's Kevin Landry's school. Does these free shows called Shut Up and Wrestle. They're basically shows for their students to get exposure, and some other guys come down and help them out. He basically said, why the fuck should I pay you when you go work for Landry for free? There's a big difference. A Sunday afternoon show where you're working a student to help them get some ring time is far different than as promoter seeking you out and saying, I want to book you and you have to take travel to get. I'm not going to debate what people ask for as far as their pay rates goes, but I'm saying that if a promoter agrees to pay you, he should fucking pay you. And that's that. Dan Gore has been known for not paying people because he doesn't know how to properly run nor promote his company. You never see it advertised anywhere except on Facebook. He draws shit for crowds. And then at the end of the night, he gives the house was light bullshit. Now, mind you, he gets his ring for free because he gets it from Kevin Landry. Because that's Landry lets people use his ring if his students get ring time. That's the way it was with Rival Pro. Was we always had Landry's ring so that his students could get some time. And that's a fine agreement. But especially when you don't have that portion of your overhead, you pay your fucking workers. On top of that, Dan Gore is a blithering drunk who loves to say, no, I don't drink, but yet every person says he's fucking walking around drunk off his ass, stumbling around after the fucking show. And on top of that, Dan Gore is a huge fucking racist. And when I say huge racist, what I mean is huge racist. Dan Gore sits there and they're all deleted now, but he used to do Facebook Live videos during the civil unrest after the initial stuff with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, saying that people protesting were fucking morons and saying people like that don't deserve to be put on a pedestal. This is the same guy who designed a Trump 2020 campaign sign for his birdhouse. Yes, for his birdhouse. He's a piece of shit. He's a guy who could never work well, as it was before RPW, when RPW was still NEFW. He came in for a show doing his stupid necromancer gimmick, which is so fucking dated and so terrible. Literally worked a 6-man and broke his ankle a minute into getting tagged in after not being in the ring for a decade. He can't work. He can't work a regular match. So what does he do? He books these extreme shows and he always puts himself in brawls and hardcore matches and anything having to do with the main event. He's one of those guys that has to make it all about him. And as it is, a lot of people have distanced themselves from it. And he's one of those people, like, if you notice an indie company doesn't have a consistent roster and it's constantly changing, it's because they're getting stiffed on pay or it's not a safe work environment. This is a guy who, I just lost my fucking train of thought. Going back to what do you call it? Literally tried to say, I'm not a racist because I made a Puerto Rican my champion. Like, that has nothing to do with it. He burned bridges with the school I used to work with because of the racially charged things he was saying during his Facebook Lives. And because it has gotten known, it was said by, I forgot who said it, but someone said that once you work there, you get what's known as the battlefront stain. And nobody really wants to book you because you're associated with such a trash individual. So I'm just issuing a fair warning. It has been said by Dirtbag Dan. It has been said by others. There's other people I would name, but apparently they commented that you really shouldn't say the name of the promoter, even though they talk shit about that same promoter. So I won't mention their name. I'll just say that you're never going to be as good as your fucking brother was, and you should have to deal with that. Anyways, I'm just saying, if you are a worker and you are contacted by Dan Gore or anyone representing Battlefront Pro Wrestling Extreme, you might want to think twice because it's not a safe work environment. The owner is a drunk and a racist, and doesn't pay his workers. The more you know.
I feel like we need the rainbow logo. The more you know.
Yep.
All right. Well done, JJ. We appreciate your dropping the knowledge on everyone. Is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest before we wrap things up?
I can't really think of anything. I think I've vented enough about AEW this week.
Yeah, I think we're good on that for one episode. All right, so that'll wrap things up once again. This is White Heat. This is episode 17. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia Glenville, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and yeah, that's that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Brian Cady. He's at JJ _Alexander. There we go. And if you have any long-form comments, stories, whatever, you can always email the show, brian.cady@godzillamedia.com. And if you've been watching the YouTube, that's been scrolling along the bottom of the screen the whole show as well. Yeah. And if you haven't been watching, just listening, check the show description because I put both of our Twitter handles and the email address in every show description. That being said, make sure you like and subscribe to the video and the channel on YouTube. We're on the Godzilla Media YouTube page. Where you can follow not just our show, but all the other shows within the Godzilla Media family. And if you're listening to us on Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, rate and subscribe. And we're going to have a special giveaway next week where it's going to be involving rating and subscribing on one of those platforms. So stay tuned.
I like money.
We're going to give that away next week. It's better than money. It's food. It's food. Okay. Yum, yum in the tum-tum. So, for JJ Alexander, I'm Brian Cady. You've been listening and watching episode 17 of White Heat. Until then, goodbye, everyone.